Hello and welcome back to the SMITE Challenger Circuit. We've gone through our first 3 sets of the day, but we still got one more to go for you out here. Still kicking over here in North America. Ending our day off, I should say, with the Callan Wardens up against the Athenian Sages for our final matchup here. I'm J-Mac. I got Mifflin with me over here to close out our final set of the day. And it's hard. I mean, it's been a long day. I'm just going to say that. For real, it's been a bit of a long day. We've had some very long games up there. I know you had the 45-minute barn burner earlier on.
Felt like 10 minutes to me. I was having a joyous time.
Oh, man. But let's take a look at the schedule, see what matchups we did have already, and see what you can expect for the rest of the week beyond just this final matchup here as far as North America is concerned. We had the Weavers and the Tanuki square off. That was a 3-game set between them, with the Tanuki coming out on top. We'll have the Sages and the Wardens coming up now. And then on Saturday, you can tune in for the final NASCC set between the Hounds and the Storm.
Yeah, really excited, and sets you need to keep track of. Again, it's something Dave and I touched on a little bit earlier during our guest segment, but these are all high-implication matches for all LAN events in the future, for seeding every single week, because I believe it's only a 5-week period for these squads. So make sure you're watching every single one. The seeding today might not reflect what you see next week or the week after.
Yeah, I mean, with only a single round robin between all of these teams here, you gotta make sure that you get your win now, because you might not have another opportunity to do so in the future here. But with our final 2 teams here, I keep saying first. I say it's been a long day, but now it feels like I'm starting a whole fresh new day here. But we got the Athenian Sages up first here to talk about. I mean, Slash, Jangaru, Briz, Privative, and Shinigami to round out this roster here. A team that came in during the SPL qualifiers, kind of changed up a little bit during the SCC qualifiers, and now that they are here into the SCC, we get to see kind of the culmination of the squad.
Yeah, previously known as Samsara, and it's a squad that I had high expectations for, but so far has not been looking so good during the regular season. 0-2 in the standings, last seen an 0-2 loss as well. Look, that's not indicative of the expectations I think you should have for this team, because in the SPL play-ins, they looked very strong, making it very far into the standings, a diverse style of play. Specifically, I think Privative, one that you really want to keep your eyes on. He has been consistently dominating in that support role, but despite all of it, have not quite been able to find a dub just yet.
No, and if I'm not mistaken, this was one of the teams that qualified in quote-unquote first round of qualifications for the 16 teams that went through that massive end bracket of the qualifiers out of here. I've been keeping a lot of eyes on Jangaru into the jungle. We've seen a lot of different picks come out of this player. Things between, your typical Circuits. We've also seen the E-sets make their way through the jungle here. So there's been a lot going back and forth between these teams and between these players specifically.
Yeah, there has been. I believe, though, this is a squad that really does want to play aggressive, and we've seen that it's succeeded for them in the past, and when they do succeed in that early game aggression, that's really where they find their home. They're able to snowball very easily, but when they don't, we didn't get too many opportunities to see it until the regular season, really start to slow down their gameplay.
Yeah, the early game really seems to be the name of the game for the NA scene, and they're going up against a team that really loves to get some NA fights going up here in the Callan Wardens. Relentless One, Sino, Moswall, Not Gino, and Griff to round out this roster. And I mean, we saw the set at the beginning of the day had 4 SPL players on it, and they struggled to be able to find a win out here. But now you got Callan Wardens. They've got 2 of the former SPL players in Sino and Moswall. These 2 have been sticking together for a long time, and these guys have been playing with each other for such a long time. To see these guys round out a roster and to find 3 other strong talents in Relentless One, Relentless One, Gino, and Griff here. A very strong Wardens team.
Yeah, Griff from the SCL, and then Not Gino, an SCC/SOC talent for the last couple of years, as well as Relentless One, flanked by some world champions and some world champion MVPs at that. This is a squad that I had expected to go essentially undefeated this year. I was expecting like a reverse Elysium, reverse in that we're in North America, but like the exact same in that Elysium was looking untouchable at the top of the European standings. But so far, 1-1 in the standings, last seen in a 1-2 loss up against the Tanuki. Not exactly, I'm sure, not exactly where they would like to be at the current standings, but still a team that is very capable of bouncing back, and a team that has got multiple win conditions just hard baked into them. I mean, one game Moswall might just dominate on something like a Loki mid, something wild, or maybe Sino locks in an assassin for the first time in the last 4 years and dominates on something like that, or goes towards his patented E-set jungle. It's a very versatile squad and one that is always a treat to watch.
And then over Relentless One in the solo lane, you never know what he's going to pop out. I mean, he's had hard carry days on gods like the Kamazots, or it could go towards one of those more traditional warriors. And then really the dual lanes for both of these teams, looking at between the Wardens and the Sages, kind of an even matchup there. I mean, Griff versus Shinigami, not one I would really give too much of an edge over to either way. Same there with Gino and Priv. So maybe some eyes over into the dual lane. As we hop into picks and bans, though, for game number 1 between these two teams. We've been seeing a lot of the priority towards Zeus with some of these teams out here. Still a very dominant god out there. Bastet still seems to be slipping her way through these picks and bans as well.
Yeah, plenty of priority picks. Whatever the SPL is going towards, I think, is going to start to leak its way into the SCC. Just these high priority selections that have got very good power scaling. Generally, it's going to be things like the Bastet, the Cleanas of the world, things that have flex potential as well. Generally, we'll see ban in the first phase. But when you're playing against the Wardens, you got to take into account some of these eclectic selections. Are you worried about Mazwal's Opwash? Are you concerning yourself with Sino's Guan Yu jungle? Things like that you've really got to start thinking about, and it changes legitimately how you draft. Even though you look at a tier list, or you hop on Reddit, and you think, oh man, Guan Yu's not very good. Like, do we really want E-set in the jungle? Is that something that can pop off? Well, traditional, classical SMITE knowledge might indicate no. But as far as standings are concerned, as far as just results-based analysis, I'd say yes, but only for the Wardens.
Yeah, pretty much only this Wardens team kind of gets that name recognition there, and we're seeing it here with an E-set ban out of the Sages. Don't be fooled with what you've seen in the SPL. This is not a support E-set that's getting banned. This isn't a mid E-set that's getting banned. This is Sino's E-set specifically out of that jungle. Alongside there, Shiva and Zeus going to be taking a hit here on the side of the Sages, and Shiva's been seeing kind of mixed levels of priority between some teams. We've seen some take him out first. We've also seen some teams allow him to get to the later half of the picks and bans before he actually finds a way out here. So still kind of up in the air where Shiva really stands at the moment.
Yeah, Shiva a pick that I think is very curious in that we can take him into the jungle. Has seen some levels of success. Solo lane as well, one where you can probably get away with it. The last build I saw from Shiva in the solo lane, not very awe-inspiring. I believe it was Soul Eater into double tank item and then a damage. It was a weird amalgamation of what you want from that lane. I think maybe a little bit more so successful if we just commit to one role. But that said, certainly a pick that I am surprised to see banned so highly, just because what other warriors are out there? Arlong Shen, Gilgamesh, these high priority picks that are so consistent and so highly prioritized, so highly treasured in the SBL, essentially going by the wayside here.
Yeah, especially over in that soul. I mean, even Bologna, Amaterasu, like we saw in the last set, so many other options out there. But Sages don't want to deal with Shiva, so Sages won't deal with them. They'll pick up a Yamoja, a Medusa, and a Daji on their side. Meanwhile, it's going to be Kabrakan, Merlin, and Uller on the side of the Wardens here. Kabrakan potentially slating over towards that jungle. That's where we've been seeing him go a lot more. But it'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the fact that he can be solo and can be in that jungle as well.
Yeah,
or the support.
Yeah, even support. I mean, if we're talking about, like, I don't know, Pagon or Benny, like,
and
could
mid.
just go mid. There's a lot of flex potential.
Now we just need ADC to round it all out.
Hey, I mean, I wouldn't hate it too much. I mean, I'd hate it, but I wouldn't hate it too much if he wanted to take it over there. Already a very standard composition from the Wardens, which is not something you get to say too often. I'm sure we'll see some shift-ups here as the Raijin lock-in, a pick we haven't seen in a while, but I think fits the current meta very well. I mean, go towards that double flat pan option if you so choose. He's got a very strong early game. The second you take over to level 5 and get the Taiko drums available, you are a legitimate threat. You can start leaping in aggressively, a la those OG Captain Twig back in the Jade Dragons Ghost days, just playing these aggressive mid lanes. Raijin fits that style, and with the current build and with how power scaling works in Season 9, you can do it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where my woe is. I know that at the end of Season 8, we saw builds kind of change up, and so with the nerf that did hit Raijin, that was kind of the final, nail in the coffin to him. SPL player kind of entirely dropped him out. But with his double flat pen, with how much Divine Ruin has been prioritized, he's always been feeling like one of the best gods that can kind of apply that out there, so I'm really surprised we haven't been seeing him as much. And then Geb Wukong are going to be the final two on the side of the Warden. Sages will finish that build with a Chalk, who we've been seeing a lot of, more so in the jungle, though. But it seems that with this Daji locked in, this is actually going to be slated over towards solo lane Mifflin.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, Assassin solo is not something completely unheard of, but it's certainly some potential there. I believe it will likely be Daji in the jungle. Meanwhile, on the other side, though, Sun Wukong locked in. It's deceptive. I've seen Sino play it in the jungle a few times.
Yeah, we have no idea where that one's going to go, at least for a few more seconds here before we jump into game one between the Wardens and the Sages. But it will be Relentless One on the Sun Wukong, Sino piloting that Kabrakan over towards the jungle. And as I just looked at immediately, obviously no relic choice on the side of Slash here in that solo. And right as I say that, he goes back and buys the blink. Maybe he just forgot about it, but Myth, we have been seeing some teams out here, whether it be at the pro level or at the amateur level, where these solo laners will skip that first relic for a little while.
Yeah, I think that if you are considering going towards teleport in the first relic slot, there's really no reason to walk out of base at level 1 with it, because you're not generally using it until you already go back to base, so pretty quick to purchase it. It's not as if you're losing out on a whole lot of timing, and if you do, you can make a more informed decision, if you do wait, that is. Okay, well, I got bullied out of the lane, I'm feeling like I'm under, I don't know, risk of death. Maybe I pick up a Beads and Aegis, something to alleviate some of that pressure. Sure, you're going to lose out on some farm, but not the case here. Both solo laners do elect to pick up a slightly more aggressive selection. And speaking of aggression in the solo lane, both going for scaling style of builds, both stacking up with the Bluestone in the first slot. On one side, Relentless One likely will be moving in towards the Soul Eater, which is just great synergy with Sun Wukong. The ability to Jinku Bang the entire wave, or Master's Will, going to sustain you very well. Should match up nicely with what Slash is bringing just by being a Chalk and having healing in the kit, but will be even further pushed to the forefront by this Transcendence. Again, the healing from Chalk scaling for power means that Transcendence will effectively make you tankier just through raw HP regen.
I gotta say, this evolution and the kind of the startups of the SCC teams has kind of culminated itself now to where we have the carries hitting level 2 before they found themselves in the way to even getting to the wave out here. It's something that kind of started, only a couple of teams are doing it. Now it really feels like this SCC is going with this new start style where your carry does green, then they help the mid on red, then they go over to purple, and now you get this level 2 brawl very early.
Yeah, it just helps out a whole lot with clear as well, especially in a god like Ull who can just clear out a wave instantly, especially with Bluestone in the wrong slot, by the way, so Griff gets -1 cool point.
Yeah, that's
but
cool.
Having Ull hit level 2 immediately is going to give you a whole lot of kill pressure as well. We saw that Privative had to overextend himself, essentially, trying to match up the pressure that Griff generated just by nature of hitting level 2 so quickly. And now Privative, Omi'd out. Is that still I guess so. Out of
Out of Omi?
It's just ooh.
Out of Omi, it's ooh.
Yeah, just
oh,
ooh.
Lord. That's going to be... Now that you said that, now I'm going to eventually say that at one point here, like Slash losing out on a lot of health from Relentless One in this solo lane. And something that Sun Wukong's always just been known for, being great in that lane. The change to Cudgel years back where you got the bonus damage to creeps has really made it to where Relentless One on this Wukong just gets, not really free clear, but essentially just free clear.
Yeah, it helps him out a lot during the laning phase, which was one of the weaknesses for him. Slight aggression in mid lane. Sino maybe caught out, but Jengaru not willing to stick into the aggression, and that's because there's a good counter matchup for Kabrakan. 1,000 cuts going to stack up those damage pretty quickly and allow Sino to apply the stun in his own right. I think that Sun Wukong is still in a similar position as he was in Season 7. Last time we saw him consistently locked in the SPL was with Ducky, back on Obey, in that he can close gap to the backline very well, but what do you do once you get there? It's not the most damage. You're very survivable. You're very good at surviving on that pick, but I'm not sure that he's going to have enough threat to really make Briz think about him, or Shinigami. Both Raijin and Medusa, I'm sure they love their odds in that 1v1.
Well, Sino almost picked up that purple buff. He was ready to back and almost ended up picking up that when he wants the speed buff, obviously. Very early rotation from the jungler of the Callan Wardens to add some extra pressure in this dual lane. Kind of where you need it here. I mean, Medusa Yamoja is a lane that should have automatic pressure compared to Geb Uller. Essentially, Geb not really known for his clear in that Guardian role, but as you talked about earlier, Uller kind of makes up for that lack of clear this Geb has, but making sure that Shinigami is going to lose out on that second rotation of the buff, never going to be fun for the side of the Sages.
No, not at all. Shinigami would love to get aggressive at this point, but is not allowed to do so. And, well, there's going to be a slight advantage over to the Warden, specifically over to Griff in the 1v1. We'll be taking over to level 5 slightly quicker as he got experience for his own purple buff. And meanwhile, Shinigami just going to sit on his hands for a moment. Maybe once these supports start to rotate out, we'll see it shift up in the lane where this Medusa is allowed to spread her wings a little bit. But for now, just kind of hovering as Slash uses the ultimate defensively, but maybe also superfluously, as he was already inside the tower, but in doing so has lost out on his CC immunity, but I'm sure not too concerned again, he's landing against Sun Wukong. There's just not a whole lot of kill pressure there.
No, not really. Did manage to cancel out Sino's ult at the very least there. Sino just a little late on the timing to try and get that wall out there, but no death over into the Soul lane. 4 minutes in right now. It is that Soul Leader you were talking about earlier for Relentless One to be picked up right away. Meanwhile, it'll be a Divine Ruin first item here from Moswall over in that mid lane. Dealing with a lot of healing that's come against it, absolutely no surprise, especially, I mean, you're looking at Chalk, lots of self-sustain to his kit, Umoja, lots of team sustain.
Yeah, and Merlin just one of the best applicators of that anti-heal, 2 stances, as they're able to slip out of the River's Rebuke. Privative just barely off the mark, and Griff and Gino get to hold on to every single one of their relics and cooldowns as they casually saunter out of that ultimate. And this could open the door for Sino to get involved.
There's no Omi left for Privative. He used a lot of it here. Sino goes in, flapping his arms as much as he can, drops the ult, wall for wall, and there's nowhere that Privative can go. The Tremors hold him in place so that Griff can shut him down.
Just unfortunate for Privative. Caught Ooh in the lane and immediately shut down for it. Sino at least forced to use his own ultimate in response, but on the other end, Gino also has to use his own, but I'm sure a very worthwhile trade for the Callan Wardens. Athenian Sages, they're still in this one. They've got decent scaling come late game. You're going to want Jengaru to get involved very shortly. He already has the Jotun's Wrath, still has Blink available, and looking now at the Callan Wardens relic selection, you've got a couple of targets that are going to be very, very appetizing for this dodgy, specifically Sino on this Gabrakan. No CC immunity in the kit, and no CC immunity in the relics just yet.
Trying to see what's keeping Slash from getting that Transcendence, but he doesn't have enough gold at all for him. I know Transcendence is a fairly expensive item, but he's still a couple hundred gold from getting that item out over there. Meanwhile, both supports have picked up their Gauntlet of Thieves. Griff can start stacking his Transcendence over on that left side of the map. And maybe that's a bit of a tale of how much farm is going over to this dual lane here, is that Griff, even sharing waves with Gino, is able to pick up that item before Slash can.
Yeah, and First Blood Bounty probably helps out a fair deal with
that too.
But, you know, Slash has been inside of his tower for the entire game. He hasn't been allowed to step up just yet. And makes sense to me. He doesn't really have much of an ability to box out Relentless One at this point, who's already got the Soul Eater sustaining very well in this lane. Slash falls behind early, already has his tower down to about half HP. Doesn't have the Transcendence just yet. Hasn't had any help come his way either. Jengaru, largely just farming up in the jungle, has remained even / slightly ahead of Sino, but what are you doing with a lead if you ain't using it? I'd say just about nothing.
No, not currently. Double Cataclysm in mid.
Stun.
We'll get the beads away from Briz. But Privative makes sure to keep it at just the Cataclysm here. Sino, though, around the wall with the red buff. Jengaru blinks past, goes up into the Pal-Lao. Needs to pull in Sino if they can, but will only grab Gino instead. Turn around Shockwave and the Shell to help Gino stay alive a little bit longer. Those Taiko drums are going to do enough damage for Briz to pick up a kill, but Jengaru is going to be the sacrificial lamb for the Athenian Sages. A 1-for-1 trade. Briz will manage to get over the wall with that teleport, but now the Relentless One has joined the party. It's going to force the rotation from Slash to hold him out.
Slash able to use that ultimate to buy some time for the rest of his team as Shinigami starts to make his way over. Locks eyes with 4 members of the Kaolin Wardens and says, maybe not my best opportunity to engage in this fight. The Kaolin Wardens will take the slight win and the red buff, even potentially the purple, if Sino's got anything to say about it.
Shinigami, unfortunately, dashes into Sino. That'll be a 1-for-1 trade. But unfortunately, the 1 kill goes over to Griff, the person who didn't die on the side of the Callan Wardens in that fight. He'll pick up the red buff just as well. Privative a little late to try and secure this one, but unfortunate timing and placement there, at least by Shinigami. Gets that dash and immediately is met with a Kabrakan on the tail end of it.
Yeah, Sino blinks into position to make sure that there was no escape path for him, and Shinigami falls hook, line, and sinker. That said, I know it's a 1-level lead for Griff, and he's got a significant experience and gold advantage, but looking at the difference between builds, Griff going towards that Transcendence and Shinigami picking up Crusher for himself, this is still an opportunity where the Medusa can look for 1v1s.
Relentless One doesn't have ult, does have Ox, teleported in by Jengaru. No beads on the Wukong, means he's got to shoot far, but he won't get too far. Pulled back in by the Pal-Lao, and Jengaru will finally be able to get a kill for himself on the board.
He will, and well, that's a great time to do so because Relentless One's ultimate was coming up very shortly. 1v1 in the lane, now 2-level lead for Griff. Shinigami going to play a little bit further back, but you can see Griff even showing some respect there. It's exactly what I was talking about. This Medusa does a lot.
Privative, no way to get her out of the walls just yet. Pulled back in and again locked out. It's another kill going over to the Wardens. This time it's Gino picking up the kill on the support. And it's not just 2 levels between the hunters, 2 levels between these supports separating their experience. Shinigami will dash away. It's a leap by Griff. Sino's on the way. No blink. They're going to need some help from Chino. Gets behind, gets the shockwave, and Griff will be set up for the easy kill.
Man, this game really started to speed up the pace just at the, what was that, 7-minute mark? Feels like we haven't had a single opportunity for all 10 members of this match to be alive at the same time. The Callan Wardens lurking in the jungle. They've got timer on this red buff. Thought maybe we'd see him go towards the Gold Fury proper, especially with that burn potential that Maswell brings on this Merlin. Might as well grab that buff first, then go for the objective. Now pulled out by the older side.
Stealing away that red, getting those Oracle Harpies, and Gold Fury should go over here to the Wardens. No one on the Sages have even made a note that this is happening, or even if they have, they've decided that it's not worth trying to go and take away. That'll be a Gold Fury, the first major objective of the game, going over to the Wardens. And look at what it's done to this gold lead, nearly 3,000 up that the Wardens have, only 9 minutes in the experience. We're looking, aside from the jungle, about a half level to a level or more everywhere else.
Yeah, this is not the ideal situation for the Athenian Sages. They do have the added benefit of having very strong scaling on their side. Raijin only going to get stronger as the game goes on. Privative only going to get stronger if he's landing double pulls like that. Gino might be in some trouble.
Gino will not be able to roll far. Does get the stone shield up, but that should be a pull back in. Shell and the ultimate with the Cataclysm. Gino will not get pulled into that Pow Lao. Instead, it's now a River's Rebuke out of Privative to get the rest of the team out. And Relentless One and Slash rotating into the top side of the fight. This fight should be over unless the Wardens continue to push in towards Tier 1.
Yeah, the Wardens have just got control of the map right now. Relentless One stepping up to the speed buff. Do not believe was successful in stealing that one away, but the Athenian Sages just make way for him, allowing the Kaolin Wardens to do whatever it is that they want on this side of the map. And speaking of the right side of the map, Tier 1 solo lane tower, what is that, like 5 HP?
That's gonna,
yeah, oh, he's just gonna walk in.
He'll just take it.
Yeah.
That's his tower.
I mean, Slash has ultimate. That took 3 autos. If Slash ults him, I mean, he's not gonna kill him, but he could at least drop him down to like 20%, make him work for it. Instead, just walks away to his own Tier 2. Not often you see a Chalk play that scared.
Yeah, he really did just give that one up. Didn't throw an axe, didn't throw a rainstorm to slow him down or anything.
Hit the guy at
just
least.
Like walk up there, at least like show yourself.
No, not this time around. Slash says, hey, I've not been winning this lane and I'm not gonna pretend that I have been, and allows Relentless One to take out that Tier 1. Not a big deal. Tier 1 solo tower, probably the least valuable Tier 1 in the game. Not often are enemies or anybody really retreating there. Generally, it's going to be towards mid or even towards the duo tower. So, as far as map state goes, Callan Wardens not so far ahead that you need to concern yourself. Experience in gold, though? Yeah, you should probably get worried.
Probably so. It's 4,000 gold, nearly 5K experience that the Callan Wardens have up at this point. We've seen some fight back here out of the Sages, but not quite enough to turn this game back around here. There's a Chronos Pin and a Maswell second item, so sitting now at 30% CDR, plus the added benefit of the Chronos Pin and passive, giving you kind of a fake 10% in the midst of that one. But
have you done that math? Is that like true?
It's not a full 10%,
Sounds like
but it's
Flare Boot would say.
It's 1 second out of every 10 seconds that it's there. And a Pow Lao up now with some good CDR Jangaru will pull Gino back in, but there's no follow-up. Gino is just fine.
Yeah, they wanted to go on to Sino, and Gino's able to cleanse that off pretty easily with the stone shield. And, well, Gino being as tanky as he is, fully stacked Gauntlet of Thieves, already a silver breastplate, and Briz not in range, no reason to fight.
Shinigami will turn for the Petrify, but the wall will make sure that Griff has a means of blocking that one out, so Shinigami won't find a whole lot of value on kills with it, but maybe some kill pressure with this River's Rebuke. A double ultimate by Slash. Jangaru teleports in, and Sino will go down. Gino should be the next one on the chopping block here. A good Riptide will at least push him back, but that stone shield and the damage out of Maswell creating enough space for the support to make it out.
So the Athenian Sages get a 1-for-0 trade, 20 seconds left, while Sino in the grayscale. Fury dead, though, and, well, Pyromancer on the opposite side of the map. Not much they can do to push their lead. Relentless One able to strip away that speed buff in the meantime. They're going to make it a little bit more annoying for Jangaru to play the game. Jangaru not going to be concerned about losing out on that farm, as he is already nursing a 1-level lead, but speaking from experience, having your speed buff stolen does not feel good.
No. No, it doesn't. For the little that I've played jungle, it always sucks when my speed buff does get stolen. It hasn't been stolen too often.
It's the hardest to steal buff in the game.
It really is.
Besides green.
Well,
green's like squishier, actually.
Who's really stealing green, though?
Me, to send a message.
You're just going to say, you know what? I know that you, as the support, probably aren't picking this up anyways, but now you're not picking up because of me.
That's
more
right.
than anything. Briz needs some support in the mid lane. Ice Bolt's off the mark, but not the cudgel from Relentless One. That will take down the mid laner of the Sages.
Just unbridled aggression across the map right now. This is as North American an SEC game could get. They are just fighting everywhere, and sometimes with purpose, sometimes without. Currently without, because Fire Giant not really an option. Pyromancer, though, just might be. Maswal and Gino have not got enough damage to do it in a timely manner and will reset themselves. And my man Privative has just been ooh all game. I feel like this dude has just not had any ohm.
No, he has had basically none. Every time we pan over, he's sitting at like 1, 2 at best, so that's enough for a single spell out of him. One thing to note from Gino, I noticed it earlier on, I think it was level 8. He managed to pick up a full Phantom Shell. It was after that one team fight on the right-hand side against Gino, just had enough of that ultimate from the emoji and said, all right, we're not dealing with this anymore. We are going to deal with the Sony Fury.
So
that
fast.
one goes down, and this is what happens when we see teams with leads, man. Level 15 on both of your carries, plus a level 15 Wukong with a couple of damage items. That Fury is just gone, and maybe so is Briz. A just popped preemptively. That'll stop Sino from going in on the mid laner, but maybe not onto the support. Primitive will go down very quickly.
And he is using that dash to get away. Relentless One dunks down the Somersault Cloud, but will not continue the chase. Instead, falls back. Slash left alone. Falls alone.
Triple ultimate out of him, but he still goes down. Jengaru has a few locked in up on the Powwow. He's going to pull just about everybody except for Griffin. But there was no follow-up. Briz was so far away. That is the dream Powwow that any jungler could ever ask for. And then nothing after.
Well, yeah, Briz was in his tier 2. Privative was in the Shadow Realm, and as was Slash, so not much that he could have done with that. I suppose Jengaru at least happy with stripping away some of those beads. And the Callan Wardens, well, I'm sure happy with getting a Fire Giant for themselves 15.5 minutes in. Good lord, that burn potential so quick. Worth noting, they're like Maswal's 30% going in, Sino's like 30% going in, and they maintain their HP throughout a Fire Giant siege. That is just a testament to how quickly they are able to burn these objectives with this style of draft. And I think that the tower should take note. Tier 1s, well, they're already nearly dead. Tier 2s, that's where we're going to see the defense stacked up by the Sages. I hope, personally, if they allow the Sages, that is, the Wardens, to just get to a Phoenix, the gold lead is already going to balloon out of control even further than it has. 7,000, 16 minutes in. It's like a 99%er, okay? I'll give you the truth. I'll give you that honest, candid analysis. Hindu Man's not in the studio right now. I don't need to build intrigue. This is going to be a tough game for the Athenian Sages.
If I learned anything from that Fire Giant of the Wardens, it's that I'm putting them on a raid team in any of my MMOs that I'm going to be playing, because that was some solid PvE mechanics out there. I mean, how long has this Fire Giant had all of these crazy knockups and lines and other pools
years.
out here? And there were still players, I'm going to throw myself under the bus, still getting knocked up by Fire Giants, still standing in lava pools. These guys did it near flawlessly.
They did, and they made it look easy. Turns out just not standing in giant red indicators is a good play, and the Kaolin Wardens certainly adept at doing so. We'll have to wait a little bit for the minion wave because that was a 15-minute Fire Giant, not enhanced. Backdoor protections still in play. Tier 1s will fall, and it's a 3-2 split. Gino and Relentless One headed down mid. The other 3-man core going down that left side. But it's a 5-stack just about from the Athenian Sages in mid.
Everybody but Shinigami over there. He's instead in the right side, keeping that wave push up. It's only tier 2 towers left. And the Callan Wardens will now rotate themselves over to finally take this tier 2 tower. They had a big minion wave finally walk in, and now that Gino has joined, they'll finally take down that tier 2 tower. But it doesn't seem the Wardens are interested in the Phoenix just yet. Now the full 5 will rotate over towards mid.
Yeah, the Sages, the longer they wait to put up a defense, the harder it's going to be to defend. The Kaolin Wardens now, having taken 2 tier 1s, 2 tier 2s, and even Jengaru's life immediately, by the way. Yeah, he did not get to play the game. Uses his beads a little bit late and will respawn without them now in 40 seconds. I guess it won't be that hard. I thought the Kaolin Wardens would spend their gold. Instead, they're going to spend their time in the Phoenix.
You're going to get the River's Rebuke out of Privative, who does get a little bit of Omi back in that fight to heal up the team, throw out a Riptide there. The stun will only hit Gino, but Briz is the one who needs a little bit of extra assistance. Back to the fountain, he will go. Slash finds a 3-man ultimate right in the midst, but already down to half HP and not getting a whole lot back from that rainstorm. Mid lane Phoenix does go down, but Briz might just be going down alongside it. Does teleport away, but Griff was waiting on the other end.
Yeah, Griff able to preempt his leap and lands just in time to finish off that kill. And 18.5 minutes in, the Titan might be too tall a task for the Kaolin Wardens. Still a minute left on this Fire Giant power plant. Still one tier 2 tower standing. Hard to tell where the Callan Wardens are going. It's a 3-man on the left-hand side with a 2-man split off elsewhere. Maybe they just go back to base. That's a lot of gold in the pocket of just about everybody, nearly an entire item. 2,000 gold seems to be the median for the Callan Wardens. And that's exactly what I was talking about. The Athenian Sages would have likely been better suited putting up a defense as a 5-stack on a tier 2 tower. But seeing how poorly it went, maybe right behind the Phoenix.
Shinigami barely squeaks by the ult here from Sino. One pull in from Jangaru's Palau, but not going to have any follow-up beyond there. So Shinigami and Sino will be good to make it out of this team fight. And maybe now the Wardens will go back to base and spend up some of this gold, but it seems they're just buying their time for everything else on the map to just respawn. Gino stealing away Obelisk offerings, and then the rest of the team heading over towards this left side. Primal Fury about to respawn, and it seems the Callan Wardens will spend their last few seconds waiting for it to respawn to only take it back down again.
Man, what an oppressive game so far. The Callan Wardens have just had their boots on the throat of the Athenian Sages for the, 19 minutes, 55 seconds. That's how long they've been dominating this match. And again, it's just not something I would have expected considering what we've seen from the Athenian Sages in the past. This is a squad that could have lined up against the Oni Warriors, pushing them to, I believe, 3 games during the SPL play-ins. This is a squad that I had very high expectations for in the years to come, and so far, have not quite been able to live up to it.
Now, they've been able to find small little games here and there, small moments at least within some of those games, but Athenian Sages have not been able to close out any of their sets, at least to say the very least here. And they're going to need a miracle to close out this game.
You know, I owe an apology to the Oni Warriors. They didn't take the Oni Warriors to 3. They took the Oni Homies to 3.
Right. It was the Oni Homies before they became the Warriors.
Yeah, and that is a difference. There's a difference there, all right? A weight of the crown of the SPL is heavy on the shoulders of the king, and well, the Oni Warriors might not be the kings right now at the Camelot, but yeah, they're getting there.
Fire Giant will be the next one on the target here for the Callan Wardens. A lot of them did finally manage to go back to base and spend up some of that gold, while a few of them are fighting the Fire Giant. The other 2 are fighting Jangaru. Jangaru will have a means of getting out with that Trickster Spirit teleport to get over towards Slash. Shinigami, meanwhile, will get some split push pressure, but it's only going to be a tier 1 tower. There's still tier 2 on the right side, which I'm honestly surprised the Wardens hadn't already taken at this point. Now they'll group up and go ahead and grab it.
Yeah, clearly Relentless One dropping the ball in his lane. The only one with a tier 2 tower still standing, and Moswell hard carrying because he took out the mid Phoenix all on his own. Just kidding. Athenian Sages, their defense might be decent here. It's the first 5-on-5 engagement they'll have been given so far this game. Remember, last time it was Jangaru who falls down in a pick initially before the Callan Wardens had stepped up into a bird.
Relentless One to the back line, pops the Ankh instantly up against 4 different players. River's Rebuke comes out. There's nobody trapped inside whatsoever. Relentless One was up on the cloud and will sit comfortably back with the rest of his team. Meanwhile, Sino wrapping around the side. The stun from the support will hit out the minions and slow down the push to the Wardens, but it's a Blink Cataclysm into the backline by Gino. Finds a few, and then an ultimate out of Briz. Privative's going to need a lot of help, and so is the rest of the team. Priv is gone. Briz and Shinigami to the fountain, and Slash to the grayscale screen. It's 3 versus 5, and I'm not sure that the Sages are going to be able to put up a defense. Palau only going to hit a couple and almost take down Relentless One, but that damage is returned immediately back. Sino grabs Briz, and the Callan Wardens will grab the Titan.
Never a great sign for your team if the highest DPS on your squad is your own fountain. Pulls 2 in, still could not confirm those kills. The Callan Wardens, the entire game, simply dominate.
That's it. I mean, that period statement, end it right there. I mean, Callan Wardens just showed that they were the better team out here on the map play, the team fights, maybe even the draft if you want to go that far out here. But Callan Wardens were just the dominant team.
They were. There were opportunities maybe briefly where there was some fight back potential. I feel like Jangaru waited a little bit too long to get involved on the map. Felt like Sino was already ganking solo, duo, and mid, maybe twice each before Jangaru even went up into the Palau, and allowing this veteran team of world champions to be the proactive players on the map. Well, they're probably going to pick good times to initiate. Got to think you want to play your own game a little bit more so.
The Wardens take game 1. The Sages are going to need a lot to come back here and take this set on if they want to try and find at least a winning set here. We'll take it to a break. We'll get you set up for game 2. A very fast game 1 and a very commanding game 1 here for the Callan Wardens. They dominantly dismantle the Athenian Sages in game number 1.
You got more D's words?
Destructive.
Oh, destructive match.
Destructive match. That's all I got at the moment. I'm not the best ad-libber when it comes to that thing at this point.
Yeah, I can't rap on air. I can't rap on air.
No, that's because of other reasons that you're not allowed to. It's not that you can't. It's not you're not allowed to rap on air.
Chat, I would have loved to have rapped for you, but I've got explicit instructions from Hindu Man to not do so. So I won't.
Instead, we'll talk about game number 1 here between these two teams. We'll talk about the Callan Wardens and their dominant pressure across the map, how much they were just able to completely destroy.
Okay,
I don't
you're
know.
using the same
No, I am
ones.
going the same route. I'm going the same route there. It doesn't count anymore. I don't know where I'm going here. But
it was devastating.
Devastating. That's a good one. How did I forget devastating?
Yeah, it was demonstrative of the talents the Callan Wardens have got for themselves. Look, this is it's very clear where this one goes wrong, and it's whenever Sino decided to get involved, because from there, the game was very one-note. I feel like the mentals of the Athenian Sages just weren't quite in this one. The heart's not quite in it. There were a couple of misplays from Privative, who has been largely one of the most consistent players on this team, where he wasn't quite able to line up these ultimates. Even right here, why does Slash walk into 5 people on his own? Why is Jengaru going for this play after his team has already been forced into a tier 2 tower? It just feels like the Athenian Sages not quite on the same page. And that was generally one of the main strengths of this team in the past, was their ability to coordinate their attacks, play very well as a unit. I didn't quite see it here. And, well, if they wanted to take it into multiple 1v1s or 1v2s where mechanics are the separator, they're playing against Sino, who is one of the most mechanical players to have ever done it, and Mazwal, who's got the exact same title and a World Championship MVP behind him. Not sure you want to take these guys into situations where you just got to press buttons better.
And it's also a case here where the Wardens didn't even play some of those more eclectic style picks. You know, they didn't have to do the East set jungle or whatever in the world that Sino wants to play in jungle. Mazwal didn't have to dig deep into the God pool to pick out an Opwash here. They're just playing with what the meta currently is. Maybe not Sun Wukong necessarily here, but that's
maybe
just,
not Geb either.
That's just Relentless One. Relentless One likes these kinds of gods.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Wardens play picks that just fit them very well. It wasn't even necessarily that they brought out a composition that did any one thing particularly well. It's not as if they had constructed a dive comp or an objective shred composition. They just played gods that they're very adept at and team fought better than the other side. Kind of similar to what we see from the Leviathans, but to a lesser extent.
Yeah, it kind of felt like this composition was all right, guys, we're on our last game of the night. Let's go ahead and just go out with a bang, have a good one, get a dub out here, and that's what they did, at least in game number 1. We'll see if they can continue that trend, though, in game number 2. Let's jump into the picks and bans, see if anything does get changed up between these two teams here. See if the Sages, I mean, the Sages had a pretty strong team composition through and through. I mean, you get Medusa Emoja, one of the best pressure duo lanes that you can ask for out there. You get Chalk in the solo lane, still maybe not the highest out there, but it's definitely a god that shouldn't just be
better than Sun Wukong.
It should just not be outright losing in that solo lane.
Yeah, not to the extent that we saw either. Sun Wukong is not a pick that just dominates the early. He's not one of the best lane bullies in the game. You know who is? Chalk. Chalk can trade HP. Chalk is allowed to use his HP bar as just a resource to trade in fights because he's got that heal built inherently into his kit, whereas Sun Wukong had to itemize towards it through Soul Eater. But regardless, that tier 1 tower was at like 10% at the 5-minute mark. Just not certain what happened over there. Just not the performance that you'd expect from the Sages, who have elected to go towards the exact same picks that we saw last time around.
The one change will be the Agni, so they did swap something around here, but a major swap on the other side. The Wardens were left open in East set, and Sino, probably foaming at the mouth at the chance to play this god, will be able to grab that one alongside the Shiva. So now we'll get to see if the Shiva does go over to support like we saw with Wrong You on the Leviathans. We'll see if it goes over into the solo lane like we saw earlier on today. Or is Sino just going to play the Shiva and give E-set to somebody else? Probably not. I don't know. It's Sino. He'll probably hold on to that E-set.
Hey, Sino can do whatever Sino wants to do. All I know is that the composition that I am looking at now from the Wardens, I've got zero clue where any individual pick is going to land. Generally, you'd say, like, oh, okay, like, Uul probably going to duo, but has had flex potential. Every single one has. We'll get a little bit more clarity as the draft rounds out, but as of now, the strength of this composition, now even expanded on by this Amaterasu lock-in, is objectives. You've got great objective burn. You're given more attack speed from Shiva. He can place down that first ability, a firewall that is consistently dealing damage. Uul's got great burst potential. E-set with a circle protection, one of the best confirmation tools in the game. And then you got Amaterasu's passive, just making it all deal a little bit more damage.
Well, on the other side here, the Sages have picked up a pretty nice little counter matchup into some of these gods, or into most of these gods here outside of the Uller. And that's going to be that Odin pickup. That cage is going to be pretty destructive up against E-set specifically. She's not going to be able to get away out of the cage, at least not without some kind of shell to be picked up alongside there. With a Merlin now locked in over here, now we still kind of are a little up in the air where some of these gods are going to go. Mostly for me, the Shiva Amaterasu. If this E-Sec is going into the jungle, do you think the Shiva would go more towards the support role and put the Ama in solo, or do you think the Ama goes over to support?
I would probably, if I had to choose, I'm putting Shiva in support with this composition, but you could also just have, probably best case scenario, Shiva in the jungle, E-set support, Amaterasu solo. We know for a fact that Sino's got some experience on Amaterasu in the jungle as well, so I'm not going to guess. Why guess when you can throw us to a game?
I can throw us to a game. Let's go to that game right now. Game number 2 between the Athenian Sages and the Callan Wardens is ready to go, and in just a few moments we won't have to play the guessing game any longer. We'll just get to see the facts right out in front of us. And it will be Shiva over into the jungle this time around. See, made the nice little call there. We'll be E-set over towards support for Gino.
Yeah, maybe the Kaolin Wardens on speedrun status, because I think if they were in their standard fun havers mode, and not the team, just the fact that they like to have fun, would have likely been ESET in the jungle, but Sino will stretch his legs and play something a little bit more so in line with the standard meta. Shiva locked in and has some great gank potential. I would argue one of the best level 2s in the game. I think equivalent in gank potential to something like the Gilgamesh. Just the ability to blink in, pull somebody forward, knock them up inside the firewall. You got more attack speed, you're slamming them. You've already got so much damage in the build because you've gone for Eye of the Jungle. So keep your eyes on Sino. I think we're going to make a very quick pace to this one.
Sino probably going, oh no guys, I guess I'll just play Shiva this game. And we haven't gotten to see too much of this god yet in competitive. It's only the second time here in the SEC that he's been played. We got a few different roles out of him in the jungle. And we are seeing this 2-1-2 split yet again now, where the dual lane gets their carry up to that level 2. You throw the jungler and the solo laner together and get them over into the lane. Some teams have still been going at that route. You throw them in there, they clear out their buff, they clear out the Harpy, and then they get that first wave together. Sometimes the jungler just leaves beyond there. Other times, though, we have seen where one will leave and the other one sticks around to try and go for a free early kill. Or maybe we just go for a kill now. Good lord, the damage between those two. Relentless One strikes first for the Callan Wardens.
That's that level 2 potential I was talking about with Shiva. Just so much damage output. Worth noting, slight difference in the starts between these two teams. Briz does not immediately go back towards mid. Instead, clears out the back camp on the left-hand side. I only bring this up because where's Susano? Jangaru will not get any farm on the left side.
No, Jangaru's just going to have to starve for a little while longer. Maybe he's trying to make a gank towards dual lane to help out Privative and Shinigami as they are being pushed to their tier 1 tower. Here comes the Susano to help out. A blink pull in on top of Gino. The shell is good, but not good enough. Jangaru, after going down early, will come back to get a kill for the team.
Yeah, it turns out playing on the tower line this early is a major risk. That said, Jangaru shows himself on the map on the left-hand side, has already lost out on that farm as Briz has cleared it out. And what is Sino doing elsewhere? Taking the last bits of remaining farm from Jangaru's jungle, invades those back camps, controls the mids. Maybe an opportunity now for Jangaru to clear out this left-hand side, but considering Briz is actually hiding behind his tier 1 tower, this could be dangerous.
Oswald will turn up. Jangaru does manage to get those left side mid camps by himself, so that's a lot of solo experience going the way of the jungle. So Jangaru not hurting as much anymore thanks to the help of the kill and a little bit of that left side farm. Some good damage out of Griff and Gino here, not enough for a kill. Meanwhile, Jangaru in the backline gets the pull up against Sino. Sino hit the knockout, the pull in with the emblazoned sweep. Not much more beyond there. Jangaru half health and Relentless One on the way in. Sino will be out.
Sino, no potions in his pocket as of now, so just HP regen standard as Jangaru is able to confirm his speed buff, and you better believe that's what Sino had his eyes on. Blue buff, though, another story. Both soul laners level 4, both junglers level 3, even fight.
Sino and Jangaru now on the way. Sino goes to the backline, finds the knock-up and the pull on Jangaru, dashes in, cancels the second one immediately. Now the Relentless One is here, and Moswall coming from the mid lane. Transformation into the ice form with that ice bolt will get the kill.
Gino in some trouble here. Viper shots are good. Privative, though, can't land the stun. Maybe a turnaround.
Jump in by Griff. Where's the axe toss gonna go, though? Not onto Andy. Instead, it'll be a stun right back onto Griff. The last of that Omi from Privative used defensively to keep him and his teammate alive. And this pressure across the map. The Callan Wardens, they weren't just done with game number 1. Oh no, they're gonna keep the gas going in game 2.
Yeah, this time though, it's a little bit more so on macro farm. It's not as if the Callan Wardens are just dominating on the map as far as kills are concerned. I mean, double the kills, but at 3 total. It's not exactly the most impressive slash line. It is impressive, though, that they have been able to extend that lead into 13, 14, 1,500 gold. Experience now starting to largely move in their favor. And worth noting, Briz has been playing very passively so far. Agni, a god that should be willing to get involved the second he takes over to level 5, has great poke potential with that rain fire, should have the range advantage up against Moswall, but is getting out-rotated to his own back camps. Briz hovering on the left backs, while Jangaru getting accosted by Moswall on his own right side backs.
We do see the right side Harpy camps at least going the way of the Sages, getting some more XP towards Briz, who's starting to slowly fall behind here up against Moswall. Meanwhile, it'll now be a brawl potentially for these left side mid camps. We do see Privative has already made the rotation towards mid, but it's a 2v2. Sino losing out on a lot of health from the combo out of Briz. Still another meteor or two ready to go. Moswall will try and help out, but Sino's just tanking the Harpies and just dying. Briz with a bomb over the wall gets a kill.
A massive infusion of golden experience that Briz needed in this lane. Should have closed up a good deal of that experience gap, but Maswal taking over to level 7 first shows that he is still the one dominantly in the lead. Maswal should be able to head back to base relatively shortly. I'm excited to see which build he elects to go. I'm assuming maybe like a Chronos Pendant or maybe even Spear of Desolation if he's trying to get in towards these objectives very shortly. Sino, on the other hand, playing this Shiva in the jungle, has elected to just play it standard across the board. Jotun's Wrath in the first slot. Nothing cute so far. Could be that we see him transition the build a slightly more into auto attack, or he could stay in line with this more ability-focused build, or even potentially move in towards a little bit more utility, maybe like a Breastplate of Valor, or just some straight-up defense and become that frontliner for his team.
One thing to note out of Relentless One, I mean, last time we saw Blink coming out of both the solos and both of the junglers in game number 1. This time, it's going to be a Beads at a Slash, but it's going to be a Bracer out of Relentless One. Not the typical first relic that we see out of solo laners. We see it sometimes in the support role. More often, though, we've seen it kind of go as a second one alongside things like a Shell here. So I'm curious as to where Relentless One is going to go with this item.
I mean, supposing that he's not too concerned with the laning phase itself, Odin doesn't really have the greatest ability to deal with Amaterasu, especially from behind. Essentially, Relentless One gets a free infusion of power every time he drops that, and a free ward. And picking up this early means that you are benefiting from not having to spend gold on wards so much more.
Sino eats a lot of damage from Jingaru. Even still behind on the Susanoo, he's able to output a decent bit of damage up against Sino. And thanks to the help of having Privative on a Yemoja, means that Jingaru will get to heal up a little bit from that skirmish there. Greater Scorpion should go down here from the side of the Athenian Sages to keep that gold at a little bit more of an even state here. I mean, we're still sitting at that 1,200 or so gold mark, but it's been that way for the last few minutes. Gino gets knocked up, does have the ultimate to help him out. That's full charge now, so he'll get a decent bit of a heal back. But now that Sino's come back in, the sweep will slam into 2 and dance. Will Sino under the tier 1 tower to pick up Briv.
And now healing up the rest of his team as Griff picks up the 1v1 against Shinigami in the lane. Was not easy, drops him down low, but will go his way. And that is not a 1v1 Griff should be winning at this point. In an even state, when one ADC's got Crusher and the other hasn't, well, you should probably lose that.
Sino stuck inside the wall with nowhere to go. Slash will jump back in and pick up the kill, but now we're on this one without an ultimate, without a lot of HP. Should go down too. It'll be Slash picking up the double kill for the Sages, and that should bring them back a little bit closer.
But the gold and experiences still remain largely unchanged. I mean, a slight dip upwards towards the Athenian Sages, but they're going to need to do a little bit more with these picks to close up that gap. As we approach the 10-minute mark, Pyromancer is going to become an option. You've got decent ability to look towards the Gold Fury, decent confirm, great burn thanks to Medusa, but considering Medusa has been handily handed. What am I trying to say here? He's been dealt with. He's been handled. Yeah, handled. Thank you.
There we go.
Handled in the lane by Griff. I don't think you really have the best opportunity as an Athenian Sage to look towards the Gold Fury, so maybe it's going to be the Kaolin Wardens aggressing first, and we've already talked about during the P's and B's how good their objective burn and secure is. Still true.
Decent bit of healing out of Privative. We'll make sure that Briz doesn't need too much damage. Instead, it's Gino under a lot of pressure here in this mid lane. Does have Maswal as backup, but Gino can just go right back to base. Now keep my eyes on this next item here from Sino. Serrated Edge, typically the most common of these ones when you go for these junglers, these kind of, even these, you know, mixed hybrid ones. But Stone Cutting Sword, not completely off the table if he does want to go for that more auto attack route.
Yeah, it could be. You already get the 25% attack speed when you're in the correct stance for that second ability, so we'll be able to apply the passive of Stone Cutting Sword very quickly, but that item has largely fallen out of favor. Serrated Edge, on the other hand, is just crazy. Lifesteal, 20% penetration, 35 power,
Keep going.
and I believe it is 7% movement speed as well. That item's nuts.
That's pretty good. The stun, not so good there out of Privative to catch anybody. Sino will use his dash to give himself a little bit of immunity. Will dance in the midst of the River's Rebuke and keep Gino healed up. And then there's a circle of protection on the back end. Gino, though, gets pulled back in by the Riptide, gets hit by a second one, throw out a third one. There's nowhere for Gino to go, but there's no damage output from the Sages. They can't kill this E-set yet. Privative, again, out of Omi under the tower, nowhere left to go, and used all of it on Riptides during that fight.
And all that damage only on a Gino, and even then, he's looking not too bad. Not Gino, about 50% HP, so the Callan Wardens will take this time to fall back to the objective. The Athenian Sage is stepping up.
They just dropped it. Luckily for them, they pick it right back up. But the Odin Cage has been here now for Slash. Relentless One stuck inside. Cannot find a route out until it goes down. And Sino turns the fight against Privative, taking them down. Slash in the middle of 4 finds a stun up against Relentless One. But now Slash doesn't have very far to go. It's a flicker in by Moswall. Some big damage against the Odin. But not enough follow-up damage after, unless Griff can find one from downtown.
And he does so with relative ease. Gold lead now expanded in favor of the Kaolin Wardens, who I suppose you could make an argument dropped the Gold Fury, reset it to bait in the Athenian Sages. I wouldn't personally die on that hill, but if you wanted to, I would not argue. Results-based analysis would say that the Kaolin Wardens were right to do so. They get the objective and the fight immediately afterward. Thought maybe we'd see Moswall chase out that kill, considering Briz dashed head first into a wall. But no. Moswall showing a little bit of discipline through the mid lane. We'll go ahead and reset. What's the point of chasing out a kill when you've already got the objectives?
3,300 gold, 4,300 XP up for the Callan Wardens, and with this side now having the obelisk back up, it'll be just offering clearings on the side of the Callan Wardens, trying to get that obelisk a little bit more stacked up here and keep that farm up. All that extra little global gold that you're getting from these offerings has really been affecting at least this early game here. The Wardens have been very clean at getting those objectives.
They have. Well, I mean, clean, is that really how we describe it?
Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, they like reset that Gold Fury.
Well, no, clean it for the obelisk ones, not not the Gold Fury objective, not the actual objective.
Yeah, not the objectives with the capital O.
The mini objective.
Understood. The Kaolin Wardens
like
have
small text.
Yeah, all lowercase. We'll see if maybe the Wardens can continue to get the uppercase objectives, and they will. Pyromancer falls down, and the Athenian Sages just a little bit slow on the uptake yet again. The Kaolin Wardens, I think, have completely foregone the laning phase. It's not often you see a team rotating as a death ball this early on, 11.5 minutes in, but that's exactly what the Chaos Squad is doing. And now with no objectives left, there's not much to fight over.
Shinigami picked up Blink, second relic.
Yeah, that goes hard.
And upgraded it.
Well, you want to be able to blink consistently, right?
Well, I guess you do get a blink more often whenever you pick up the tier 2 compared to the tier 1.
You don't want your eyes getting dry. That would suck.
You definitely do need to be blinking. I saw a graphic somewhere, I think it was on YouTube at one point, that showed like what happens to your eyes if you don't blink for X amount of time. It got wild.
That is a very JMac video to watch, I think.
I find so many random science videos I don't even understand at this point. Privative is trying to understand why there's 4 people inside of his jungle, why he has to use a River's Rebuke at a tier 2 tower, and that's just because the Callan Wardens haven't let off the gas pedal. They're going to keep going through, take away this red buff, and if they can, take a life in the process.
As of now, no lives to take. Jankaru locks eyes with Griff like a Pokemon trainer, but will not respect the rules and attack. Instead, it's a reset back to neutrals. What I would say if Gino wasn't in the tier 2.
Gino stuck inside the cage now. Triple Typhoon out of Jankaru gets a lot of damage out, but not enough to clean out the kill. They need a little bit more, and Jankaru will have it. Sino finally going down once again in this team fight now. 2 and 3 on the jungler, but a Spirit Ball out of Gino should at least hold Privative back, but Shinigami is here. Blink is up. Could be some big damage if they can find a way in, but he's being very careful about jumping in here because Moswall is dealing all the damage right back. Briz goes down, and maybe even more. Jankaru being burned away by the mid laner. Moswall picks up the triple kill because of the dot from the fire. Privative now the one being chased out as a jump in by Griff, who will take the quadro away from the mid, but pick up 4 nonetheless.
Man, what an oxymoron. Medusa with Blink playing passively, playing safe. I feel like that fight, the conversation's got to be, hey, Shinigami says, oh, I'm on the side of him, I got Blink, I got ultimate, maybe I can engage. The rest of the team starts to move forward, and he just never does.
Just left.
Just left, went back to lane, and the rest of his team gets slammed for it. The Kaolin Wardens now in a very similar position as they were in game 1, 13.5 or so minutes in. 6,000 gold, and too much experience for me to really concern myself with, rapidly approaching 9,000. Could be we see the exact same pace as we did in game 1. What was it, a 15.5 minute fire giant? Yeah, I wouldn't be mad if the Kaolin Wardens went now.
No, they've got some good objective burn and secure to do so.
It was stone cutting. You called it.
Oh, dang. Hey, I'll pat myself on the back with that one. It's going to be a Shogun's Kusari coming out of Sino as well. So really double dipping down here into that attack speed with that Shiva jungle.
Yeah, so a good deal, or good ability, passive rather. The Aura going to make it a lot easier to apply the passive of Stone Cutting Sword, which is essentially, I like to call it just melee executioners with even more power. And that's generally how you are applying it, stripping away some of that stats from whoever you're slamming. Dude, it's hard to tell what the Callan Wardens want. 1 second, it's just like raw, unmitigated aggression chasing into the jungle. The next, it's like, hey guys, actually the Fury's up. And seems like cooler heads prevail this time. Oni Fury will go over to the Chaos team, and nobody from the Athenian Sages willing to step up and put up a defense there. Gotta choose somewhere to put up that fight. Tier 2 tower didn't work so great for you last time around. Not sure if it's gotten any better for you now. The Callan Wardens, free range of the map.
Shinigami has not made themselves known anywhere in the fight. Gino has circle protection, lives through a lot of the damage, and the shield after that comes from that silence is keeping him alive. Spirit Ball will hold off Slash, but not long enough. Slash does pick up Gino, but Primitive is now under fire by Sinos, using that ultimate in the midst of everybody. Now the cage comes through, and that's the retreat call, at least for Slash. Big bomb damage coming out of Briz from the mid. We'll get some solid damage out there, but for now, it's just going to be only the Callan Wardens losing one in the fight.
5 versus 4, and the 4 continue their onslaught. The Athenian Sages have an unofficial 6-man in the Tier 2 tower, but it doesn't seem to slow down the Wardens.
Shinigami will throw out the Acid Spray. That does some decent damage over towards Moswell, but Primitive gets pulled back in, and then the Eclipse dropped right after. Means there's no way to loop around the side of that tower. Good lord, Griffiths slamming some big damage there on that pool. 3-0-3 now, nearly 3 items in. And, well, with Pyromancer coming up momentarily, it seems the Wardens will make their way to this right side of the map.
Yeah, I thought maybe we'd see Jengaru step forward and try and shut down some of these low HP targets, and then I remembered that Jengaru is 2-3 and has not got quite enough power to line up against just about everyone, with no blink available either. Would not be able to initiate very easily. Instead, resets himself back to neutral. The Kaolin Wardens, though, will reset themselves back to a neutral objective. The Pyromancer was there once upon a time, if you'd believe me.
I believe you.
Nice, thanks.
But it's not there anymore.
No.
No longer on the map. Shinigami, in that last fight, didn't really put out a whole lot of damage from what I saw into the tower. I mean, he was pretty far back in. The Acid Spray hit a couple of people.
Has he used the blink yet?
Hasn't used the blink, and I don't even know, unless he used it in the 1v1 against Griff that he ended up losing earlier on, I don't know if I've seen Shinigami ult once this game.
No, his ult's definitely been down. I can't say that definitively, but I am going to say that definitively. There's no way this Medusa...
In the last 2 major team fights we've had, Shinigami has not used that ultimate
Yeah,
yet.
but in one of them, he just, like, ran away.
Right,
So,
and
like,
then
he
in that
wasn't in
last
that
one,
one.
he went to the back of the tower line, kind of stepped up to Acid Spray. Probably could have hit a couple, didn't here. At the moment, though, it'll be the Callan Wardens taking the Fire Giant. Not really much of a contest here for the Sages to get in.
Maybe.
But that Fire Giant's not going down as fast as I thought it would be. Instead, it's a pull away from the Wardens, Jengaru and Slash. Enough of a threat to hold them back.
Yeah, surprised that the Wardens aren't just willing to drop Circle Protection and call out the bluff. I feel like they still do have confirmation advantage by stacking that up, but instead maybe worried about the Typhoon from Jengaru and reset themselves. Probably more confident in their ability to take an actual fight.
Quick dash away from Shinigami does get past the silence from Gino. Shinigami will be sitting now on full Viper Shot passive, ready to go. But the Callan Wardens only have a few of their players here, notably, that's the word I'm looking for. Sino is not back at the fight just yet. Shinigami beads up and will now have to walk back. He basically, well, he doesn't get a walk back. Instead, it's Sino who's going to send him back. Shinigami still holding on to that ultimate, and Sino just walks up, dances on him, takes him down. Now the rest of the team under fire. Briz gets a big stun, but he doesn't have the dash to get out of there. Relentless One close up the kill onto Briz. The walls now fall down from the cage, and so does Slash. It's a double kill for the Callan Warden solo.
Simply dumbfounded, as that is potentially one of the worst plays I've ever seen in competitive. Pre-beads to walk into his own death, past his own teammates, just W keys in, throws up the F6 vote immediately afterward. I was happy to see that the rest of his team, realizing that this is a competitive match, decide that they will try and hold on, but Shinigami clearly not in this one. That was just atrocious.
No, and you even saw from the movement of his team, they did that double take of,
They were dumbfounded.
They really just looked at him and went, did you just walk up there? Just like slowly and then die?
Yeah, just not a great look for the ADC just yet. Luckily, though, still has the blink, still has the ultimate, might be able to use either one at any point. Still no confirmation on whether or not a Petrify has been used.
Oh, no, there it is. Petrify has been used, and it got nothing. I don't even know if that hit Gino in all of that. Relentless One will use the ult to try and walk away. Slash goes in, finds 3 inside the cage. Primitive will throw out some damage, and Jengar will finally get a kill up onto Relentless One, putting this Amaterasu down. Slash goes into the back line, gets stunned out, gets burned down by Moswall, and a slight retreat out of him. But in the 5v4, the Callan Wardens shouldn't be winning this, but Sino's got the ult back up, and he's just happily dancing right to the back line.
CC immunity goes a long way, especially when it's channeled for that long. Sino, though, dropped low. Will have to use the healing from Fire Giant to resustain.
Max range Spirit Ball finds Primitive, and Moswall finds the follow-up after. 4 of the Callan Wardens here at the throne room of the Sages, but not willing to commit to go for the end just yet. Still a couple of towers, and Phoenix is still standing.
Shinigami, the last line of defense here for the Athenian Sages, and one I'm sure you're not very confident in, because I certainly am not. Looks like he's not at least inting this time, so will maintain his life, if not the bird. Right side, Phoenix falls down as Jengaru potentially has a flank here, but with no help, will not walk himself forward. 2 towers still standing for the Athenian Sages, and only 1 bird, all in the duo lane. The Callan Wardens, I suppose, can just head back to base, spend up all this gold in pocket. It should be a fair deal of gold. 4,000 for not Gino. Yeah, that's going to be a pretty significant power spike for him. Group up. Game's pretty simple from here on out. Callan Wardens have only got 1 lane to concern themselves with.
Yeah, that golden hand is massive on the side of the Wardens. Not just the gold lead they already have, but all that gold in pocket, which is what a lot of that gold lead is sitting with here. There was like 3,600 in that Gino was holding on to. He can go back and finish up a full item by a whole tier 2 of another. It's actually the Talisman of Energy. We haven't seen that item in quite some time. I know when Kaolin was meta, we did see this kind of be a primary build onto him more often than not for some magical defense. It's been a while, though, since we've seen it outside of that.
Yeah, Relentless One going to be zooming all the way across the map and applying a slow to whoever he makes contact with. Gets additional movement speed from the first ability, gets additional movement speed from that passive, and should be able to... Did it disappear? Did he sell it?
No, it's on Gino.
Oh, it's on Gino. I'm lost, man. Hey, yeah, he's fast, though.
Hey, blink out of Shinigami. That's the second time we've seen that go through. There's the second Petrify, but won't be enough to get the kill onto Sino. A solo kill under the tier 2 tower goes the way of the jungler of the Callan Wardens. And you might as well clean up the last of the towers on the map. Both mid and right Phoenix are gone, and the Callan Wardens should be able to knock down this tier 2, and maybe the Phoenix right after.
Why'd you let me talk so long about how Amaterasu had Talisman of Energy, J-Mac?
Well, you were going to get some extra. I thought you were going to go, she gets the passive from that, and then Gino's going to give her a little bit of extra there. And then,
good save. That's what I was going to say,
yeah, we got you. We got your back. Primitive, though, is going to need the back of the rest of his team, and he's not going to get it. Gino does have circle protection. That's going to get the kill. Jengaru does find 1 in the midst of all of that one. We'll find the blink out to get back to the Titan room. Left side Phoenix, the only one still standing. Slash charging up that spear, will not find a target with it. Instead, he's the one stunned out by the Spirit Ball on the support. But the Callan Warden's not willing to step up into the Titan room just yet.
Well, their best Titan DPS is dead for 40 seconds. Moswall will watch on. So might as well pick up that Phoenix, and they do so. Maybe even Jengaru falls down. Griff, credit for this kill.
Jengaru gone. Now it's Shinigami, Briz, and Slash to defend. No ultimate back up yet. Shinigami should be here in just a few seconds. But with all 3 Phoenixes and Fire Minions now pouring into the throne room, the Wardens could find a way in, but it's a massive stun out of the mid laner, Briz, and some good follow-up damage by Slash. That'll keep the Wardens from continuing their onslaught into the Titan, and instead will not have to find a retreat path.
Yeah, and I think the path is clear. There are no towers or birds standing between them and an escape, as yeah, that Titan is getting owned right now.
Ultimate from Shinigami doesn't find a whole lot of damage. Briz standing in the backline to throw some bombs will be interrupted by his nice day here. Sino walking by will get some extra healing over towards his team, some extra damage up against Slash, but the Titan is just dying to the minions. Shinigami goes down to Griff. Briz will walk back to the Titan, but this Titan doesn't stand a chance. The minions alone are going to be enough to take this one out unless Sino throws some damage. No, Sino's just going to get the kill. Jengaru will get a kill onto Griff, but the Titan goes down thanks to mostly the help of the minions there.
That is not even half of what you can expect from the Athenian Sages, man. Their heads weren't in it. They were trolling, they were inting. I don't know what it was, but that was an embarrassing match for them. The Callan Wardens make them look like preschoolers on the battleground. That's ridiculous.
I don't know what was going through Shinigami's head specifically there.
Nothing.
I mean,
Head empty, no thoughts.
Just blink. That's all he wanted. He wanted to be a jungle Medusa so bad to go blink, but he didn't even want to do that so bad because he rarely ever used it when it came to actual team fights. Big win over here for the Callan Wardens. We'll take it to a break and come back to close our day. Hello and welcome back to the NASCC. In all honesty, not really too much to say about that game there. I mean, the Callan Wardens just did them dirty. I mean, Callan Wardens just showed up to play. I don't know what was going on through the heads of some of the Athenian Sages players here, but that was not the SMITE that we have come to know and from this team here. And in this matchup, the Callan Wardens were just able to capitalize off of whatever was going on.
Yeah, that is a type of game that if I had to experience at any point, that's like a team implosion type of game. That's like a roster change type of game, dude. That was not great. You said it best. The Kaolin Wardens came to play, and the Athenian Sages did not.
And the Athenian Sages did not play this game very much at all here. We get to actually
Jengaro
see
did okay.
the solo kill. We get to see if there was actually a Petrify at any point. No. So we did not see a Petrify from this Medusa until like 15, 16 minutes into the game or later.
Yeah, and here's the thing about how he could have used Petrify. Sure, that would have probably got him to kill. He also decided to like not stand behind his minions. He had an entire minion wave, did not care, didn't stand behind the melees either. A lot of things could have changed there. Instead, decides to just die.
And die he did multiple times. The blink didn't help him out very much. We saw it used, we saw blinks used, and we saw petrifies used, but to not much avail here. Maswal gets the free cast in the mid lane on the side of the Wardens, picks up a triple kill, nearly a quadra, but gets taken away by Griffin. With that fight right there, that was kind of the tell that Shinigami's head was just not there with the rest of the team. I mean, that was a team fight. He had a perfect angle into blink Petra. I can't believe I'm actually saying it, but we have to because it's in the game. He had a perfect angle to blink Petrify 3 people, and he just didn't. He simply just went back to another lane.
Yeah, you got to farm up. You know, he got soloed a little bit earlier.
Farm up to do what?
Yeah, I don't know. Not kill anybody. 0-4 and 2. 2 affected kills from the jungler there. Shinigami just not super involved in the game. The entire of this stage just got routed in this one. And got to give credit where it's due. The Kaolin Wardens won, but like, okay. You know?
Plus side. Support got 2-2-2-2 healing. That's a nice little number to have right there.
That is cool. Yeah, good for Privative.
Nice on Priv. I think between that and getting damage numbers that end on like an even 1,000, those are always some of the coolest things, is getting the same sequential number and then the even 1Ks on damage numbers.
Yeah, I like when I get like 6, 6, 7. That's my favorite.
Is that your favorite?
Yeah.
That's a pretty
it's
good.
never happened to me, but
no, it has not happened.
I would like it.
I haven't had that one go through with me. Usually it's like 6, 16, and 7 or something like that, just depending on how my games are going.
Oh my goodness. I wasn't even talking about slash line. I was like damage numbers.
Oh, damage numbers.
You don't know the 6, 6, 7 meme?
Of course I know the 667 meme.
Okay, just making sure.
I've been around for a while, Mifflin.
You fumbled it there.
Look, I was just gonna eclipse over that one there, but let's go ahead and talk about the schedule because there's still 2 more SCC games to go. Not today though. We're gonna have one tomorrow and one on Saturday. We'll have the EU one to start off already tomorrow at 11 a.m. and then on Saturday we'll round out week number 3 of the NASCC with the Eldritch Hounds up against the Shibalba Storm. So the Tanuki and the Wardens find their wins today, which does mean that the Wardens now move up to a 2-1 slash line for themselves as far as the standings are concerned. And unfortunately for the Sages, they now drop to 0-3.
But if you are North American fans and want to watch some more, I believe it's played Saturday morning. Make sure you tune in for that one and get the last North American SCC set. If you want to see some more European games, tune in tomorrow in the AM. Otherwise, it's all SPL all the way down.
And it's going to be the top teams here for the NA side between the Storm and the Hounds. So one team's going to move on, still remain undefeated. The other one will drop down to tie for a 3-way tie here between the Tanuki and the Wardens, depending on whichever one of those goes down. But as you said, tomorrow is when we're going to be kicking back off with more SCC. That'll be 11 a.m. Saturday. Watch the SCC for NA. But we've also got SPL. That's going to be happening tomorrow starting out over at 1 p.m. So if you want to watch some more SMITE esports action, make sure that you're tuning in right here, right now. Well, not right now. Tomorrow morning, I should say. Right here, though, on this same channel. On behalf of myself, Mifflin, Casters Production, everybody else behind the scenes, thank you all for stopping by. We'll see you tomorrow at 11 with the SCC.